Welcome to Wonderland, a place to deconstruct ideas, to understand your body through nutrition, hormones, and psychology. And in doing so, to inhabit your body with dignity, respect, and pride. Hello, my name is Fran, coach with Team Pro Physique, professional bodybuilder, psychologist, nutrition consultant, wife, and mom. So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, because I promise you information that can transform how you listen to your body, support what your body truly needs, and help you fall in love with yourself all over again.
Hello guys! It seems like now is the normal to record the YouTube videos in the car, but it is what it is. Today my daughter has some volleyball games, and so this is between games, so I'm gonna try to be very concise. Right now I have some clients doing the Transformation Pro Physique Challenge, and if you don't know what that is, it is a really cool challenge where you can not only transform your physique but also get some cash prizes. I believe it's about $25,000, so if you don't know about it, get informed. They usually happen a few times in a year. But anyway, I wanted to come here and record this video because I've seen a pattern. In the past transformation challenges, I noticed that people are very motivated in the beginning, but as the weeks go by, they start losing motivation and they start self-sabotaging. So before that happens in the current challenge, I want to give you some tools so you stop that once and for all. Let me give you kind of like a map of this video, that way you know what we are going to cover. First of all, I am going to talk about why we self-sabotage. And I'm going to give some deep explanations because the reason why we self-sabotage can be very different person to person. So I am going to touch that topic psychologically and also philosophically. I am also going to talk about one amazing tool that personally helped me stop self-sabotaging and also helped me with my anxiety. And those tools you can implement today. First of all, self-sabotage doesn't appear as one dramatic event. It shows up in small permission slips. And those happen when your brain is already tired, stressed, or triggered or scared. Self-sabotage, as I mentioned, can be caused by many reasons. Trauma can be one of them. Stress, poor sleep, hormonal shifts, anxiety, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and even feeling out of control in other aspects of our life. Another one can be fear of failure, but also fear of success, and even the belief that we have about our identity. So yes, there are several explanations, but the lens that we are using today is cognitive and behavioral. And why this one? Well, because it gives you a skill that you can actually practice. So we're gonna start simple and then we go a little deeper. I want to start by giving you a little bit of a story that helped me break certain patterns, not only in my behavior and to being able to adhere to a plan, but also it helped me so much with my anxiety. I struggled with my anxiety for years. And what helped me tremendously was a philosopher. His name is Baruch Spinoza. That's why he's very close to my heart, and that's why I love sharing it. Spinoza, in this book, he distinguished two different types of ideas: inadequate and adequate. An inadequate idea is partial understanding of the situation. It is when we experience an effect, such shame, fear, urge, or anxiety, but without understanding the true cause. So we only see a fragment of the whole chain. To summarize, inadequate idea is when we only see partial of the entire situation. On the other hand, an adequate idea is when we understand something and its causes. This one is more clear, more complete, and more grounded. This is important because when we have that, we move our actions from true understanding and not blurred by fear and all these emotions that we can experience in a specific situation. So basically, it's the shift between reactivity and agency, meaning holding the bull by the horns. He also spoke about the definition of freedom, which it didn't mean that we just do whatever we want, but instead, freedom comes from seeing the causal chain clearly, meaning fully understanding the situation. And when you understand it, when you understand the cause, the emotional intensity lowers. You don't act from emotions, you act from understanding. Therefore, you are free. To put this as an example, the cause of my anxiety was my health. I am a very health conscious person. And when I started getting close to perimenopause, I started having some symptoms. And not understanding where they were coming from raised my anxiety tremendously. But at the same time, I was a little bit afraid of doing some lab work and find out something that I was not gonna like. And I love this phrase that says, "The truth is only for the braves." And that hit me really hard. So By not understanding the real causes of my symptoms, I was just very afraid until, well, I decided to do some lab work. And I come to find out that, it was just normal fluctuations that come with perimenopause. But it took me so long to finally do something about it. And once I knew what the reality was, I stopped being manipulated by my emotions, by my fear, and not being able to feel free. But once I understood the causes, then they became manageable because now I knew what to attack. And same thing happens with self-sabotage. When we don't know, when we don't understand the causes of it, it is really easy to continue. And it is internal work that we need to do, but if we don't do it, we're always going to be stuck in the same cycle. So that was my frame for wanting to do something about my situation. But the tool that really helped me get there, also with self-sabotage, not only with my anxiety, was cognitive work. And those are exactly the tools that I'm going to be giving you. When I went to university, they taught me about cognitive and behavioral therapy. Something that over time I kind of forgot about it until I was in a situation that I did not like. But let me make something clear. This is not positive thinking. It is actually training your mind to stop treating interpretations as facts. It is actually building the habit of asking things like, is this true? What is the evidence? What is my brain adding? Let's say, for example, you've been on a diet, right? You've been really strict. You've been really adherent to the plan. You've been doing your macros. You've been doing your meal plan, your cardio, your steps, everything. But then you step on the scale and you see a number that you don't like. And then you have the urge at that same moment to do something about it because apparently the plan is not working. And so what do? You start being very aggressive with your plan. You cut calories drastically, you increase cardio drastically, and then your hunger signals get all over the place. You become overly hungry, and then you give up, and then you overeat, and then you regret it, and then you tell yourself, this isn't for me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. This is not working. I guess this is who I am. I guess I just give up all the time. I guess I should just accept that this is me. But what if at that particular moment when you stepped on the scale and you saw that number, what if you practice and acquire the skill to actually ask questions that will get you to the causes of that scale not moving or even going higher? Things like, could this be a bad night's sleep and that's why I'm retaining water? Could this be a hormonal fluctuation? Could this be that I'm overly stressed? Could this be that yesterday I had a higher sodium meal? Could this be that yesterday I had more fiber than usual? All of those reasons can be reflected on the scale. And if we don't ask the right questions at those particular moments, then we are always going to be in automatic, always reacting, always having inadequate ideas, like Spinoza said. So we need to be very aware that a thought is not a fact. It is a hypothesis. And a hypothesis requires evidence. That shift alone can actually make you stop self-sabotaging because that shift creates a pause. Another example, let's say that you overate. So the automatic thought will be something like, I am out of control. I gain fat. Again, you confuse the story with the fact. Now let's start with the method. How you do it. First of all, name the situation. Say it with zero drama. Nothing like, I ruin everything. Instead, you can try something like, well, I went over my target, or I missed a workout, or the scale went up 2-3 pounds. If you actually use neutral language, that will keep you out of emotional storytelling. So catch the automatic thought. What did my mind say? And write it like if it's a screenshot. Write what your mind told you automatically. I'm failing. I will never change. I will start on Monday. I don't have discipline. Those are emotional storytellings. But those are the thoughts that you need to catch because most people fail and self-sabotage because they are not aware of those storytellings and they fall for them. First, ask yourself, is this measurable or is this an interpretation? The next step will be labeling the thought so we can separate the fact from the story and ask yourself, is this an interpretation or is the data actually telling me that my hypothesis, my thought is actually true? In the scale situation, if you weigh yourself every day and you see the trend going like this, it means that it's going up and down, but over time, it's still going down. So the data is telling you that the plan is working. Therefore, there's no need to make drastic adjustments to the plan. If the data is telling you that yesterday you didn't use the restroom, guess what? The scale is also going to be up the following day. So there could be many reasons. So the interpretation or the hypothesis will stay a hypothesis without evidence. So the work will be always to ask, what is the evidence for this? And what is the evidence against it? And most importantly, what is the alternative explanation that fits that data? That is how we build an adequate idea using real data. And to simplify, identify the triggers. It could be the scale, it could be an on-track meal, and then ask, what is the thought that made me react this way? The scale didn't make you do that. It was the thought. Therefore, the thought created a behavior, and the behavior creates a physiological change. And when the physiological change happens, then it creates a new thought that usually reinforces the first thought, our automatic thoughts. Then, really questioning our initial thoughts, our responsive thoughts. If we are aware of them, we can change the behavior. If we change the behavior, we change our physiology. So basically, what we need to do is break the loop. Once we identify the trigger, then we are able to come up with better thoughts by questioning the story that automatically we tell ourselves. And if we break that, then the following behavior is going to be one that aligns the most with the reality. Let's put this in terms of the scale again. So we step on the scale, we freak out because we are not aware if this is actually an adequate idea. Let's say, for example, you step on the scale went up. You question the first thought. You say, oh, yeah, I remember yesterday I didn't have a bowel movement, and actually I didn't drink enough water, so I am probably retaining water. Oh, that means I don't need to change the plan. I just need to stay on course. And because you are not depleting yourself, your physiology stays stable, meaning your hunger signals are there, but you are able to manage them. Therefore, you are able to keep with the same plan for longer. And if you stay longer in the plan, you will keep seeing progression. And if you keep seeing progression, then your thoughts reinforce your initial behavior, such as, oh, I just needed to not freak out and continue with my plan. That is kind of like cognitive behavioral therapy works. And over time, the repetition rewires the pattern, meaning over time, it will be a lot easier to stay on course because now you are able to have that internal talk really come down to the facts instead of just emotionally reacting. And I don't want to say that thoughts are the ones that are the changing force. The evidence created through behavior. And that is how we move from reacting in confusion to acting with understanding or with an adequate idea. Basically from moving from emotion to choosing clarity. And the more you act based on data, your brain actually learns that discomfort is not actually danger. And that is when that spiral or that self-sabotage loses power. And obviously, that is when you stop fighting with yourself. Again, not by overpowering those thoughts, but by testing them with data and actual facts. So yeah, most people don't need a new plan. And even some of my clients, when they don't see the results that they want, it's not like they need a new plan. They just need a better relationship with their thoughts. Consistency will always beat intensity because intensity is emotional, but consistency is structural. So here's your takeaway. I do not react to thoughts. I test thoughts. And with that, moving from inadequate ideas to adequate ideas. Yeah, that is a skill and anybody can learn it. And I wouldn't want to say that self-sabotaging is because there's something wrong with you. Instead, I think that your system is trying to protect you in a way that it knows how to protect you. Because your brain will always choose the most known path, the one that takes the least amount of energy and that has been working. Because guess what? You're still alive. But now it is time to not let your brain know that you are still safe and you are choosing differently. And we do that by building adequate understanding and choosing behaviors based on facts. So if you are tired of starting and restarting and you want a coaching that is not only about macros and training and cardio, because I do not only change plans, I change the systems behind your decisions, but instead a coaching that takes into consideration the physiological part, the psychological part under real life circumstances, then check the links in the description below and see if we can be a good match. So if you are doing the challenge and you have questions, specific questions, send me a DM. And if you are my client, please do not hesitate on communicating with me any thoughts, any challenges, any circumstances that are making you not adherent as you can be. I am pretty sure we can come up with something. So just communicate. As I mentioned before, if you make it to the top 10, I will coach you at no cost to you for 6 more weeks. So you can do your reverse diet properly and you get to keep those results that you worked so hard for.